Hello, everybody. Today we have a very special guest, and that is one of our clients, Annie Mayfield. Annie is a 22-year-old lifestyle entrepreneur and author. She participated in cross-country, track, tennis throughout her time at Wofford College and got her Bachelor of Science degree in psychology this past spring. At 19 years old, okay, just 19 years old, she reached the top recognition rank in her health and wellness company after 1 year of beginning her business. Isn't that amazing? She has published her first novel called Be Your Own Hero at just 21 years old, and which has, by the way, sold out in Amazon within the first 5 days of being published. And right now she's out with her second book, Be the Light. Welcome, Annie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm super excited to learn more about your journey, Annie. So, when was the first time you had that seed in your mind that you should become an author?
Oh my gosh, that's such an awesome question. And my answer is going to sound so basic. I was on a stair stepper at the gym. And I was actually listening to the audiobook of, I don't know if you're familiar with Rachel Hollis. She is an incredible author. Her book, Girl, Wash Your Face. And I just was listening and I was like, I don't know. I think all of us have those authors where we read them and it almost feels like we're having a conversation with ourselves, just with the tone and the fluctuation of their speech and just how they talk in general. And honestly, I was just like, well, shoot. I mean, if Rachel can do it, I can do it. And I think also at the time I fell in love with personal development when I was a sophomore in college. I read like 100 books within 6 months, just ate it up. And I realized there was no books written by someone of my own age. And not to say that discredits the messages from the people that are older, but I do think it's important to have someone from, a college age perspective kind of speaking into this particular area of lifestyle, personal developments for all people, not just older people, but also young college students. So I wanted to kind of publish a book so people could really relate to my age and my tone of voice that are also my age.
That's awesome, because what I usually see, Annie, when first-time authors want to write their book, they have this imposter syndrome, thinking, hey, I'm too young, I don't have the experience. I'm sure that did it ever cross your mind that you're in your early 20s, am I qualified enough to write a book? Or maybe just Rachel just inspired you because she's also a young person, right? So was it ever a barrier that you're too young, or you just did something to overcome that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think we all do. We all get to, I guess I'm such a firm believer. And if you don't experience that feeling when you're pursuing whatever it is that your heart's kind of been pulled to, it's not big enough. You're not dreaming big enough. Like if you're dreaming big enough, then you are constantly going to be feeling not good enough. And I kind of look at it as like, that's the exact direction you got to go in. So I think from such a young age, something that I just read so many books. Honestly, I read so many books about people that felt very similarly to me. I mean, these people that I look up to, Tony Robbins, Rachel Hollis, Brendon Burchard, I just read about how they too had feelings of, who the heck am I to start a business, and who the heck am I to write a book? And it was almost like when I got to that point where I felt that way, I looked at it as like, okay, check. I'm supposed to be feeling this way. Check that box. Got that feeling, I must be doing something right. And so I think that was the biggest thing was before I started, writing my own book, I did spend a solid 6 months to a year reading about people who had done the same, and knowing they had that similar feeling, I wasn't afraid of it. I looked at it as, like I said, kind of me going in the right direction and dreaming something big enough. Not to say it wasn't hard. There were many times I remember I was freaking out the night before my first book was published because I was like, oh shoot, this is very real. This is actually about to happen. A lot of people are going to read some personal things. But I'm such a firm believer in, like, if it does scare you, that's exactly where you got to go, because that's where the next level version of yourself lies. So that's kind of the things that I thought about when I was going through that process.
That's awesome, Annie. So once you decided that you're going to become an author, was it really clear for you about how to choose the topic of the first book? Or did you have plenty of ideas and did you struggle to pick one topic, or how was that process for you?
Yeah, And I've been asked this question before, and honestly, it's so awesome. I've talked to other authors, and they have like everyone has such a different process. It blows my mind how everyone has such a different process. I knew I wanted to be about personal development and self development, and I wanted to write in a way that really catered to the young person. And it's funny, but I wrote the entire, like my first book and then even this past book with the idea of, I felt like I was writing to myself. I almost like, for me, obviously personal development is my niche. I love it. I'm not a fiction writer. I'm personal development writer. And I wanted to write as if I was writing to 16-year-old Annie, 20 or 19-year-old Annie. Like the things that I was struggling with, I think are things a lot of young girls and guys struggle with, comparison, not feeling good enough, not knowing what they want to do with their life. And I just wrote kind of, I guess, the things in my life that I felt like I wish I had someone to tell me when I was going through them. And that's really how I catered that whole book around, was like each chapter is a different idea. So like, be your own joy, be your own standard, whatever it is. But the very things that kind of inspired that was like, okay, what do I wish I had someone to tell me when I was 19 years old and I was going through all these things and I felt like no one was telling me what the heck was happening, and I needed something. I needed some voice.
Right. I think there's a huge lesson here for people who are thinking of writing a book, because the first thing that I tell most of my students in the academy to figure out is who is your ideal reader, who is your target reader. And I think what I learned from you is your ideal reader can be exactly like you, but just a few years before. Right. So I think that way you know exactly what was your journey and what was the low point for you, and what did you overcome and how did you do that. And if you are able to tell all that in a book, I think you are going to help a lot of people who are just a few steps behind you, right?
Yeah, and you said something so great in that, and that I just realized I wanted to add too, is that back to your question about like not feeling good enough or feeling scared, because I feel like a lot of people, when they hit that point where they're fearful and it becomes real, they run the other direction because now they actually have something to lose. Something that did pull me through is understanding, and Oprah Winfrey says it best. She says nerves are a selfish emotion, because when you're nervous, you're thinking about what you're going to get out of it. You're thinking about how you are going to be seen instead of how can you see the other person. And so for me, honestly, the only reason I followed through with even like this last book that I published with you guys is because I was scared out of my wits end, because so much personal stuff is in this book. But I knew, okay, there's some girl out there right now that is really struggling with whatever it is, anxiety, depression, whatever it is. And my work is going to touch her in some way. And because of that, I can do this scared. I can be willing to put myself out there. I'll still be scared, but I can do it scared for them. And I think when you can get to that place of who is this going to impact instead of how am I going to be seen, that's when you're going to be able to follow through with it, because it's no longer just about you. It's about something a lot bigger.
Right, absolutely. I think the same applies for many different things. Like a lot of people ask me about overcoming stage fright when you go on a stage when there are hundreds of people watching you. And I tell this exact same thing. The reason why we feel scared is because what if I make a mistake? What if people don't like me and things like that? But instead, if we flip that and look at how can my message serve all those people in the audience, automatically your fear will be replaced by a sense of gratitude to have that opportunity, right?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You said it so perfectly.
So let me know a little bit about your writing process, because though a lot of people want to write a book, the main stumbling block is to reach that finish line of completing your manuscript. So did you go through a process, or did it just flow naturally? How did that work for you? First tell me about the first book, and then we'll talk a little bit about the second book.
Yes. And ironically, my writing process for both is about the same. You kind of find what like works for you. I know everybody's different. Like some people like to write, like to take 2 years to write a book. Like some people loved, I'm not even kidding you when I say I get it done like in a 6-month period. I am like, just for me, I've got to touch it every single day, or else it will I just don't like the idea of it taking years and years and years. For me, honestly, like a lot of my books, like I mentioned previously, each chapter is a different idea. So what I like to do is I kind of like to do my due diligence. So I love listening to YouTube and podcasts about personal development. I usually do that in the morning. So if I have a chapter idea that I want to write about, and what I'll do is that morning, I'll listen to different podcasts on it. I'll listen to different YouTube videos. A lot of people I love are like Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, Rachel Hollis, like I mentioned, but kind of do my due diligence, but then I'll make it my own. So I'll kind of put my own spin on it. And how I write is I really like to integrate personal experience within the lesson. I've read a ton of books where it's almost very textbook like, and they kind of, and that's totally fine, but they make personal development almost like this science. And I realized I relate so much more to stories where the author takes a lesson, but they put it into their own life. And they tell me like, hey, this is like, they illustrate this thing that they went through, and then it sums it up to a lesson. And that's how I like to write. Like I'm not, I mean, I was a science major, but I hated scientific writing. So I am not like your textbook, you know, this is how to have joy in hard times, X, Y, Z. No, I'll give an explanation of a time that like I went through something and this is how I, you know, just to personalize it a little bit. But yeah, I touch it every single day. So what I'll usually do is have an idea and I'll work on that chapter for about a week. I give myself about a week and I'll touch it every single day. I'll go back, be like, okay, I need to expand on this idea. I need to not expand on that idea so much. But I really give myself a week. And for people struggling to write their book, there is a quote that I love. And it's from a super famous author. I am totally blanking on her name, but she says, the best book to write is the one that you're going to write. And I love that because people overcomplicate it. At the end of the day, you've got to sit your butt in a chair and you got to write the book. No one's going to do it for you. And I think a lot of people get so bogged down by little things like, what's the title of my book going to be? I can't write until I have a title. Who are the characters going to be? Oh, shoot. You know, I've got to make sure all my chapters are the same length. Oh, my God. Just write the book. Do all of that later. That's like, if I can give anyone any advice, it's that I allow myself, my first draft to be as horrible as possible. Truly. I'm like, okay, Annie, you have full permission to write this book in this first draft. It can be terrible, but just write it. Just get it done. And then when you go back, that's when you're like, okay, I don't like the title of my book. This book that I just published with you guys, I changed the title 3 times. 3 times. And like, but it's a process. And I kind of look at it like that. Like, if you don't start, you're not going to allow yourself to grow. And the best books that are written are the ones that are just written. There's no secret formula. No one's going to do it for you. You've just got to sit down and do it. And that's, I mean, the people that actually get their books finished and published, and they sat down and they just did it. They didn't get bogged down by the details. So that's really what's helped me honestly finish.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this, Annie, because most people get stuck with this notion of putting out a perfect book, and there is nothing called a perfect book, right? Even after you publish, you will feel like if you read it a couple of years later, you would feel, oh my God, I should have written this in a better way. But there are so many people who would have read it in those 2 years and who would have gotten benefited. But if you had not put that book out there in the world, then you're actually losing out on so many opportunities to help all those people. So I think rather than trying to make it perfect the first time, it's better to just put out whatever you know, and then you can obviously hire professionals to improve and tweak and all those things. And another great tip that you said is on adding personal stories. Now, this is one question I keep getting asked. How can I make my book different? I think the best way to make the book unique is to share our personal life experiences, because what you have gone through is so unique to you, right?
Yeah.
Tony Robbins would say similar things, but it is his life. We can draw ideas and inspirations from others, but our life is our life. And if we are vulnerable enough to share that openly, automatically your book becomes unique. So I think you have really done a fantastic job of that. So after writing your first book, of course, you would have gotten a lot of confidence to, that you're an author now. And usually people write their book, first book, and they, spend a lot of time marketing that and all that. But instead I think, immediately started thinking about your second book, or how did that idea happen?
Yeah, so I actually I was starting this book before the first one was even published.
Okay.
So with publishing process can take a while with editing and all that stuff. So for me, I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's like if I get like this little feeling that it's just like, okay, I've got another idea. I'm not good at just not doing it. Like I'm someone that if I have that little nudge, it's like I've just got to do it. And so I started that second book before my first one came out. And you know what? I was really glad that I did. And it's because the first one, there was a lot of success with the first one. And honestly, I think that if I had not started my second one, I would have almost been intimidated to start because I would have thought, well, shoot, now it's got to do as good as the last one. And the fact that I had already started and I was about halfway through, it gave me the confidence to be like, okay, yeah, the first one did good, but I'm already halfway done with the second one, so I might as well finish it. And honestly, like, I think it was just the fact that I had already started that it led me to finishing it and not have those, or not act on those doubts creeping in. So yeah, I definitely like, I would always recommend for authors, if you have that little nudge on your heart to write something, I know everybody believes in different things. I believe it's there for a reason. I really do. Like, I think that there's something in your body telling you, you got to go put that out in the world. I think that it's because there's someone out in the world that needs to hear what you have to say in exactly the way you have to say it. And if you don't, just like you were saying, if you don't do that, you are doing the world a massive disservice. So if you have a message on your heart, don't wait. Don't wait. It's not going to be perfect, but done is always better than perfect and undone.
Yeah.
So that's what I would tell people is like, just don't wait. Stop waiting. Like, stop waiting for your message to be made. It's not going to be perfect, but there's someone out there that does need it.
Yeah. So the second time around, did you do anything differently? One thing for sure was to work with Happy Self Publishing, but how was that process? Do let me know. And anything else that you did differently with your second book?
Yes, that's such an awesome question. So this second book is different in that it's more of a devotional. So my first was a novel. This one's more of a devotional. And it's funny, I wrote an entire like different book before this book. Like, not my first book. There was an intermission book. And then quarantine hit. And I got this feeling that the world needed something a little bit different than what I had written. And I could have easily just published that book and called it a day, but I couldn't bother with this feel. I just felt this little call to write something different. So I wrote a devotional. So this one's the format's a lot different. It's not like in a novel. It's 100 days of devotion. So kind of split and broken up. And for me, yeah, biggest thing, just like you said, I worked with Happy Self Publishing, and honest and truly, I'm not going to say the name of my former publishing company, but the experience was horrible. I mean, enough to like make me not want to publish again, truly. Like, it was so awful, so strung out, very little communication. And I felt like I was very rushed to make decisions, and it wasn't my book. I felt like it was their book. And then for me, it was just so funny because I knew, like, okay, if I am going to publish again, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to do it with a company that I actually trust. And so I found you guys, and it was so funny because for me, like, I was so cautious. I did my research. I reached out to people that had used you, and I was like, okay,
really? That's good.
yes, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's be honest. Like, how was it? Because I know what a bad publishing experience feels like, and just so many incredible things people said. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to give it a try. How bad could it be? My last experience was horrible. I was overwhelmed by how amazing you guys were. I mean, truly, like, from everything to the communication to how you took, I feel like each author, their book is like their baby. I mean, it really is. Like, for me, it holds it's my everything in that moment. And you guys delivered 100,000%. I mean, from the editing to the communication to the cover designs, I mean, I was so amazed. And like, it also makes me want to continue to, I don't know, I feel like it's very daunting for an author to have to feel like they have to find the right publishing company, and almost like the energy that it takes to worry about that, I think really, really, really convinces a lot of people just to not publish or to not write the book because they don't want to have to worry about finding the right company. And I feel so at peace now knowing like, okay, I found you guys. So like, I don't have to worry about that again for my next book. I already have such an amazing company to use and refer people to, because truly you guys have been so amazing. And I just want authors to know that, because I do think that the daunting task of finding the right company takes people out of the game. And that's where when y'all came in, and I'm literally so grateful I took a chance on you guys, even though I was so cautious, because y'all returned everything 100 million%. Truly.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Annie. I'm going to show this video to all my team members and it's going to make their day. This is what we are doing for, right? Because this is why we are doing it. Because when I wrote my first book, it was a great experience, but I had to run around to look for the right editor, for the right cover designer. And then once I had a good team in place, I thought, why not just put them all together as a service and help other authors? That's how Happy Self-Publishing was born. So thank you for that. So
yes.
a few final questions, Annie. A lot of authors are actually not really sure if their book was a success or not, because they don't have a measure to figure out if it was a success. So you are clearly a very happy author. So Annie, how would you measure the success of your books?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So my answer would have changed from when I first published to now. So when I first published, it was how many copies I've sold, how many people bought my book. And like, yeah, it's really nice when a lot of copies are sold. I don't know if you guys saw, but I was one of the #1 new releases on Amazon this week. So that was really exciting. Very awesome when lots of copies are sold. I will tell you though, after I published my first book, the amount of messages that I got from people that they were like, you know what, I was so like, I'm really struggling with depression right now, and I found your book and it changed my life. Or dads who shared their book with their soccer teams they were coaching or whatever, and I got their messages and they just said like, this little 8-year-old girl is struggling with body image issues. I mean, and that's success to me. Is you can see a number, like I can see on Amazon how many books are sold, but for me, success is that connection that was made that would not have been there if I didn't do what I did. That is success. It's just knowing that beyond a number, you can't quantify it. It's just that feeling you get in your heart when it's like, what I did touched someone else's heart. And now that makes us connected in a way we wouldn't have been before.
Right.
That's success to me. So.
Absolutely. Very well said, Annie, because a lot of times the world believes in numbers. So we all get driven by that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But all these things that cannot be quantified should also be counted, so that there will be days when we feel low. And if we can remind ourselves on how the book is helping so many people, that's going to really make us feel better and do more and more good work, right? And Annie, you also have a network marketing business, and at such a young age, you've been growing that phenomenally well. So do you see any connection between your books doing well and your business? Because it's not directly related to your business, but do you see any connect there?
So I've always had a really big community in my network marketing business. And I always say like, this kind of industry is truly a personal development industry with products and compensation attached. And I would not have written books if it wasn't for the person that I had to kind of grow into through this industry. So I give everything to that industry of who I am today, truly. In regards to the correlation between the success of my books and my community, of course, my community in the network marketing industry has been truly like the foundation of the people that just share it and tell people about it. And I think it's so important I think a lot of people are afraid to leverage their communities. I really do. I think people are afraid to, be like, hey, will you share about this thing I just did? And I see nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Because for me, it's celebrating what your community is doing. I love to celebrate other people. Like if one of my friends in my network marketing business wrote a book, you best believe I would be sharing it all over every social media channel because I'm proud of her and I love her and I want to show her off to everyone. And so for me, having those people in my corner, just like, we're so proud of you, we love you, we want to share this with you, absolutely. But what's also so cool is through that, I've also kind of created this new community for myself of people not necessarily in network marketing, but just who like to read, who like books, who like personal development. And so I feel so incredibly blessed that I have that community from my network marketing company, but also through this experience of writing books and sharing my message with the world, it's expanding that community to where I'm, whether you're network marketing or not, like we're connected because you like personal development, you related to my writing. And that's what I love about this opportunity. Like if you have a message on your heart, there is someone out there that needs to hear that, but you also might need them. You might also want their connection and their love and what they have to say. And so that's what I really loved about all of this. And I love how my community from network marketing, they can just share in that with me because they are truly one of the reasons why I'm here.
This is so awesome. And I truly believe in the power of community. I did not realize it until recently. For me, it was all about my family and my business. And I was not into too many communities. But in the beginning of 2020, just before this COVID situation happened, luckily, I started something called Author Success Academy, mainly for aspiring authors to learn the process of writing a book. And without my knowledge, now we have around 500 authors, aspiring authors, who are about to publish their books in the community. And it's so wonderful that I started this community, but it is growing on its own, and people are supporting each other, helping each other, being a part of each other's book launch teams, and it's so gratifying to see that community doing so well. So I can just imagine how proud your community members are for you, Annie.
Oh, you're so sweet, and that's amazing. All you do is amazing, and I am just so grateful that I found you and your company and y'all's mission and everything. I just truly, like, from one author that has just experienced you guys, you have changed the game. Because for me now, it's like, okay, I can just focus on the thing I love, which is to write. I don't have to worry about everything else because I know I have you guys to take care of that in the best way possible.
Thank you so much, Annie, and all the very best in whatever you're doing, your next book, your business, your podcast. You're doing so many things. And I'm really proud of you, Annie, because at such a young age, you're such a big achiever and a good person as well. So I can just imagine the kind of lives you will be touching in the near future. So thanks once again for coming on our show and inspiring our guests, our viewers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on and for all that you do. And your team, all of them are so amazing.
Thank you.